Good day, everybody. My name is Dana Massat with the Sun Your Soul and the Mindful Mama. And today I am talking to Carole Blackburn. She's a certified life and wellness coach and motivational speaker. Today we're going to be talking about victim mentality and just being in that survival mode, having the nervous system hijacked, having our mind hijacked where we're not really empowered or thinking from our highest self. Carole, it's so nice to have you on. Um, One thing that stood out right away, and this hasn't been the first time this happened to me, I read someone's story and I'm like, oh, that's my story. Why is it like with women, we build the white picket fence, we follow the rules, and then we wake up and we have this pivotal moment. With me, it was like after having my second son, and we're like, wait, we're supposed to feel happy.
Right,
So
right.
tell me about what was like your kind of like awakening, your wake up call.
Well, it was after having my second child too, actually. And
Yeah.
when you look around at your life and just that feeling that you have, and you're like, I've got everything that I'm supposed to have, but there was still this sadness and emptiness, like this void that was missing. And I knew at that point that I didn't like the person I was becoming. And it was a bit of a process, because I think we go through a state of denial. We go through a state of blaming everybody else, when in essence, it means that we just have to sit with ourselves.
Yeah.
And, I think that a lot of that, how we end up there is that there is such societal expectations that
Absolutely.
paint that picture, right?
Yes.
And we just follow that flow and we disconnect from ourselves in that process, and I think that's how we end up there.
And the society we've become, we're so uncomfortable with discomfort. We do everything to run away. And now, since we have these addictive phones and everything's like made to be addictive, social media, it is so easy to just push that discomfort down and avoid it till you no longer can.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's become a greater crutch than we've even, I think, anticipated. And it's a problem and a problem that,
Absolutely.
yeah, and we need to bring more awareness around that, that stuffing it away, hiding it. And not to mention that comparison game that ends up happening. We're watching everybody's glossy lives scroll through our feed, and we just feel worse about ourselves. We have our self-worth just crashes, and
Yeah.
we end up thinking that I can never be as good as this and
Yes.
that. And oh, it's so sad and
Yes. It's like
heartbreaking.
we're chasing something constantly. For you personally, there's some guilt around making a big life change, whether it's career, relationship, family. I feel like a lot of women will feel guilt. How did you get to that point where you're like, I deserve something more? It's okay that I change my mind. It's okay if I make a change here. How did you get there?
Ooh, that was it was ask and you shall receive, but sometimes there's so much resistance around that, right?
Yeah.
um it was the little things, because when I got to that place where I just didn't like who I was, I had a hard time even catching a glimpse of myself in the mirror. And I'm like, how did I get here? Like, how did this end up happening, right? So I think when we crash, we hit our rock bottom, that's what we got to say, okay, I have a choice. I either have to let this take me down, or I need to do something about it.
Yeah.
And it was small incremental things that it was the low hanging fruit that I could do. I need to take better care of myself. I need to be more intentional in my relationships. I have to talk to myself in a more compassionate and kind way. These tiny, tiny things that eventually started to dismantle the guilt and take that power away from feeling shame,
Yeah.
and be like, you know what, the better I am, the better my children, my family, my friends will be, because my cup is filling and I'm no longer depleted. I hated that space. It was awful.
I know, and and you still hear this, divorce messes up kids. And my kids, because I went through a divorce when they were 1.5 and 3.5, and they're good, but it's really about how both parties handle it and how mom's handling it, almost in particular.
Oh
Is she
yeah.
happy? Is she finding her joy? And on the other side, is she talking garbage about dad, or is there resentment? And I don't know. I agree with you. It's like that purpose, that happiness. If you're filling your cup, they're good.
Yeah.
So what did you experience kind of when you were dismantling things? How did you keep it together
Ooh, yeah.
for them?
For them, honestly, it was doing small things for myself. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? Like, it's okay to ask a family member or a babysitter, can you watch my kids for 2 hours so I could just go grab a latte and go read a book outside, anything. And it's creating that space, right? It's setting those boundaries. And the more that I was able to do these little things, and not to mention just taking care of my health, that
yeah,
was to me like the biggest thing. Because the more that I took care of my physical health, the more that my mental health improved, and my
absolutely.
emotions started to the anger and resentment, it was no longer focused on one thing or one person or one situation or several. It was getting rid of that and focusing on what can I do that's good and meaningful. And that changed everything, but it was a process, and just
Yeah,
being alone with yourself, and not running to find something to catch your attention for 5 seconds.
exactly.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, you're sitting with yourself, and it's like you don't like parts of yourself, but then you fall in love with yourself.
Yes.
It's like there's that point where something breaks. It's like the shame, the guilt, it breaks, and you're like, oh, I'm just a beautiful human being, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Yeah.
How do you work with, because again, your story is a story of many. How do you
Mm.
work with women? Like, do you have women that seek you out in similar situations? How do you inspire them?
Yeah. I get women who we connect on a very similar basis, but women come from different walks of life, and they have their own set of challenges.
Yeah,
And the way that I want to empower these women is that they too can find their purpose and meaning. Our initial conversations are, I don't know what I like, I don't know what I want, I'm just so lost, right? So it's a matter of saying, you know what, it's in you. It's in you. We need to just get rid of the cobwebs here, get rid of all the dust and the garbage that has been sitting on top of your purpose and meaning, and let's get to it. And it's, again, starting with these small manageable things that they can do for themselves, that otherwise they never would have even attempted it, because taking time for yourself is not something that you're supposed to be
yeah,
doing. There's a lot of guilt around it. How do I find the time? My life is too busy. And then when you give them permission to accept that, then they feel like, okay, I can try this. And then, it's a snowball effect, which is quite
yes.
beautiful to see unfold.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then it's like, even when you push them a little bit further, like, hey, go sign up for a class. It could be a little art class. And it's like, it's so funny how, like, we're grown women. We've birthed these beautiful kids. We have these beautiful careers. And then it's like, oh my gosh, go find a class and sign up. Like, it makes you feel like you're in middle school again.
It's
And then once
true.
you're there, you're like, yes, this is great.
Yeah. Yeah. How come I didn't do this sooner?
Yes.
Yeah. 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 I think that comes with losing touch with who we are, we were probably quite ambitious little kids, carefree, try anything, do anything. And as time goes by and that conditioning starts to set in, like, there's the gap between who we are and who we think we should become starts to separate us. So it's a matter of, let's get back to that girl, to that youthful
Yes.
essence, right? And be okay with saying, I want to do this for me, because that class or this course, or, taking a half an hour break for yourself, it has so much meaning and purpose. And then
Absolutely.
you begin to expand that into the rest of your life too.
Absolutely. And I talk to my clients and I say, ones that have children, how you're leading your life is teaching them how they're going to be as a partner or how their future partner is going to be. So if there's a mom in the household that's not doing anything for herself, sacrificing everything, no self-care, you're downloading to your son
Yeah.
that that's what his future partner should be doing. And how disempowering and confusing that is.
Mhm.
Even if like that could be a motivator of like, hey, you also have to give your kids an example of how to do self-care, of how to find your purpose, try new things,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. And I have a son and a daughter, and you're teaching them the same thing, but in two very different perspectives,
Yes.
right? And I think, really it's up to us to change what we're doing now in order to teach the generations coming after us that the way things have been, and that what has really chained a lot of women into this place where they can't even become themselves. This is where the change needs to happen. And we have to lead by example, just as you said.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, Talking about like victim mentality,
Mm.
it, it creeps up. It's in our programming, it's in family systems, it's in society, it's in certain gender roles sometimes. How do you help people gently shift out of that? Because if you have a client that's experiencing that and they're choosing that subconsciously, you can't really just be like, this is what it is, now do something about it. How do you work with people to shift into more like a positive, empowering mindset?
That's an awesome question. And I think one that, is really important. Awareness it has to come from within. So it's, I just like to guide my clients through the process of, how is this making you feel? What is the language that you're communicating to yourself? And how does it make you feel? What are the what are the physical effects of it? It's not just the emotional and the mental capacity of it, but physiologically we're reacting to it. And so it's just, let's bring some awareness to the situation, awareness to the internal dialogue, and then accept that, if this is not something that is causing you joy, even an ounce of joy in your life, is it time to shift the perspective a little bit and
Yeah.
change the dialogue? And it's hard because
Yeah.
that is such a strong habit that has to be undone in order to recreate, as I'm sure you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it all starts in the mind, and how, would you have this conversation with someone that you're close with? These words that you're using, and how, what you're saying, if you heard someone else saying that, how would you react to it?
It's so true. Like a simple perspective shift like that. And most likely they're going to say, oh, absolutely not. I would never say these things,
Yeah.
or even bring their inner child into it. And I say, would you speak to your inner child that way? Would you speak to your child that way? Is that how you would motivate your child? And most likely it's going to be no. Well, why are you thinking it's going to work with you?
Yeah.
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 With the change of the world, what are you seeing with your clients? What are certain things that you're noticing you're dealing with that maybe 2 years you weren't, just with this intense time of the unknown?
One of the biggest things right now is where they're putting their energy. And I think what's happening is that, everybody's lives have really bled into one jumble. Work used to be one place and home used to be another, and then everything just got mashed together,
Yeah.
where boundaries have completely fallen away. So, again, it's bringing in structure that's going to work for them, but in a new way, because things that were part of someone's life in the past doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work now. And it's being open to saying, okay, again, what are the most meaningful things in my life right now? Is it my children? Is it my family? career is phenomenal, but maybe we need to give it less of our attention, because we understand that, I'm getting exhausted women, depleted, they're stressed, they're burnt out. And it's like, okay, that energy is really being sucked up somewhere, where maybe we need to claim some of that back and put
I
it
love that.
where,
Yeah.
and put it where it needs to be, to re-nurture and reestablish those healthy living lifestyles that not only is going to benefit you, but it's going to spill into every aspect of life.
Absolutely. Okay, so drinking alcohol has skyrocketed.
Oh,
We know that. Something that I've noticed with my clients, it's almost like depression. It's not exactly depression, but even people that really didn't deal with depression ever, really didn't deal with anxiety, people that were pretty active in their lives, it's like Netflix and chill. They really can't like get motivated. Everybody's feeling this kind of heaviness and stuckness.
mhm.
How are you helping people with that? Because I see it as a collective. Almost all of my clients are kind of reporting back the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, there was an article published early in spring from the New York Times, I believe, and they call that languishing, right?
Okay.
You're not depressed, or so to speak, but there's something like you're not motivated. There's something you don't know what it is. And one thing that has really helped many of my clients is that we need to shake up the routine a little bit. We need to change what's not working for you anymore.
Yeah.
Right. And these little tiny changes can spark this motivation again, and spark that, okay, I'm waking up feeling a little bit better because I've switched things up. You remove, maybe if, like you said, drinking alcohol has become like, it's incredible, the statistics around it.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to scale back again. Maybe we need to get out and walk for 20 minutes instead, or anything to change what is no longer working for someone. And those small incremental change creates success, creates motivation. And I think that's where we need to get to. We need to get to that place where we have, a little spark again in our lives.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
It's almost like the change. It's like just making a change, even if it's not, say, like the big change you're looking for, it
Yeah.
creates this new energy within you, like life force energy that gets you
Mhm.
closer to the big change you're seeking. So it's like just change one or two small things,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
just start from there. Like you said, the small steps. I like how you keep reiterating that, because a lot of people want to jump to like the 100% big change,
Yeah.
and it just doesn't stick.
No, that sets us up for failure. And I think that, it's those small things, because we have to grow in the process too. And sometimes we're not ready to make that big leap quite yet. We have to
Yeah.
prepare ourselves. And we don't know what that means until we start. And starting with these tiny, tiny steps, it helps to boost confidence and build up that motivation that we need, drive and purpose, right? It all comes and it pushes our motivation, and to feel successful and not feel like we're, failing ourselves in one way or
Yeah.
another. And just, again, those tiny things can make such a difference in the long run. And keeping track of all that beautiful progress, right?
Yes.
We
Like
forget the hard
small
work. Yes.
celebrations. Yes.
Yes.
Like pat
Yeah.
yourself on the back. Um, I think you're working on a book. Are
Yes.
you working on a book? Okay, tell me about it.
This actually, I'm a co-author in this book, and
Awesome.
it's a collection of real stories from, there's 20 authors in total in this book. And every author is giving her account and her experience about how she went from adversity to triumph in her own life, overcoming challenge, overcoming some big things that really made her question herself. And so this is going to be a beautiful collection. The book is launching next June 2022.
Oh,
And
this is exciting.
yeah, yeah. And so the title of the book is Uncover Your Light. And so if that
Oh,
doesn't say anything, I mean, and it's really inspiring, and real stories from these women who overcame their own personal adversity And
It's beautiful that like you have these stories from real women, different women.
yeah, everyday women.
This is big.
Yeah.
Yes, this is so cool.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I've had so much fun chatting with you. I'm
Me
sure
too.
there's more to come. And thanks for just sharing your story, because I think it's just so inspiring to let people know like they're not alone.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Awesome.
absolutely.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to post this evening, so I'll send you everything.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Dana. I appreciate this opportunity.
You're welcome. I'll
Awesome.
chat with you soon. Bye.
Okay, bye.